Hey guys, this is Sri. So in this video, we are going to see about the InnoDB architecture. I mean, in this video, I'm not going to cover everything. So this is the first part of the InnoDB architecture video. So in this video, we will try to understand what is the temporary table spaces, what are the physical files we have for the temporary table space, and how they are updating when they are creating those all the things we will see in detail. Okay, so we will see about data ibt files and ibtmp1 files, and how this temp table size and max heap table size, both the parameters are working. So we will try to address all these things in this video, and going forward you can expect more videos from the InnoDB architecture. We will see the components one by one, like redo log, undo log, buffer pool. These things we will see in the for each component we will see in the coming sessions. So before going to the video, I would like to share I am planning to conduct the new weekend MySQL DBA training batch. So if you are interested, you can reach me through the mobile or LinkedIn. I will share the details in the description. And also, if you are new to the channel and if you did not subscribe my channel yet, please do that. And also share with your MySQL friends. Okay, so let's go to the topic. So first we will see, start from the basic, like a little intro about the temporary tables. So why temporary table and what is temporary table? Okay. Even to process some set of temporary data for the queries, and also internally MySQL will create the temporary tables. Okay, and also the user can create the temporary table, and MySQL also will create the temporary table in some situations like union, group by, that we will see. Okay, so first, uh, the user created temporary tables only visible within the current session. Okay, it will not display for the other sessions. It will only display for the current session. And when you are disconnected the session, your table will be removed. Okay, and if you are reconnecting the session, then you cannot see the table. And also the different sessions can use the same name temporary table. Okay, so let's see the example here. So for example, I am using 3, and here also this is the second session, and here also I'm using 3, and I'm creating the temporary table. Create temporary table T1, and just like ID int. Okay, and insert into T1 values just 1. Okay, and here in this first session I created the temporary table, and I can access, select star from T1, I can access. If I am trying to access this table from the other session, I mean in the from the second session, it will tell table T1 does not exist. Okay, so as I told, your temporary table is dedicated for your session, and it will not impact the other sessions. Okay, and now in the other session also I can create the temporary table with the same name. For example, the same command I am executed here, it is working, and I am doing the insert. It is working, and now select star from T1. I can see the data. So the each session, I mean the different sessions can have the temporary table with the same name. Okay, that's what I'm telling here. And when your session is disconnected, your temporary table will be removed. Okay, so for example, I am just quit this session, and I am reconnecting the MySQL client, and use 3, select star from T1. Now I am getting table does not exist. Okay, so when my session is closed, the temporary table will also removed. Uh, so in this case, if I am reconnecting and accessing the temporary table, it will not available. Okay, so this is a little basic about how to create the temporary table. So for to create the temporary table, we need to use this keyword temporary, okay, between the create and table. And your sessions, different sessions can share the same name, and you can access the temporary table from only that session. The different session cannot access. And when you are quieting the session, your temporary table will also removed. Okay, so this is a little basic about temporary table. Now let's dig this further. So there are two types of temporary table. One is user created temporary table that we can create using the create temporary table statement like we did here. Okay, so here we did right create temporary table statement. So this is the user created temporary table. And there is one more temporary table which is MySQL will create internally to do some process. So for example, to perform the union operation, to perform some complex group by operation. So in this situation, MySQL has to store some temporary data. So for that, MySQL will create internally, it will create the temporary table. Okay, so that is the two types. One is the user created and another one is the MySQL will create internally to do the operation. Okay, okay, that is fine. So now we know how to create the temporary table and we know some basics and different types of temporary table. Now, if I am creating the temporary table, that is not always stored in the memory, which means RAM. Okay, sometimes my temporary table will also stored in the disk, right? So when the table is come to disk, when the temporary table is come to disk, it has to store in some files, right? In some table space. Okay. So for that, we have two table space files, two temporary table space files. One is session and another one is global. Okay. So for the session, we have the variable InnoDB temp tablespace directory. Okay, so let me show here. Select at. So this is the directory inside the data directory. Okay, cd where lib MySQL InnoDB temp. So here you can see. So by default, you will see the 10 temporary table space. Okay, so this is for the session created temporary tables. Okay, the file extension will be ibt. Okay, let's see this in deeper. We will see this in deeper for the better understanding. So, but just get the overview now. Okay, so for the session created temporary table, all the session created temporary table will be stored in this uh, InnoDB underscore temp folder. And there by default, we will have 10 temporary table spaces, and each table spaces will be have the extension .ibt. This is for the session temporary tables. And we have one more, which is global temporary table space. Okay, so that will define using the variable InnoDB temp data file path, and the file name is ibtmp1. Okay, ibtmp1. You can get by default, you can get this from the data directory, and the default size for this file is 12 MB. Okay, so we have two table spaces to store the temporary table data. One is .ibt files and another one is ibtemp1. So this is for to store the temporary table when it is getting created in the disk. Okay, when it is getting created in the disk, these two files will take care. And also there is some exception that we will see in the, I mean, which file will take which table, that we will see in the next. We will see that next. Okay, so but just get to know, we have two table spaces, .ibt and ibtemp1, to store the temporary tables in disk level. Okay, fine. So now let's come to more like here you can see, as I told, user created and MySQL created internally created temporary tables can be in memory or on disk. I mean, the both tables can be created in the memory or disk. Okay, that is possible. The temporary tables can be in memory or on disk. Both is possible. When it come to the on disk, that two table spaces will be used to store the temporary table. Okay, and when this we see that we have two temporary table spaces, .ibt and ibtemp1, but the next step is we need to understand when this file get written. Okay, and when they are flushing the data. So that thing we need to understand next. Okay, so let's dig this further. So to understand this, we need to understand the two parameters. One is max heap table size and temp table size. So we will see three demo here. With the max heap table size, we will see one demo, and temp table size, we will see one demo. And what is the use case of ibtemp1 and how it is written. Therefore, that we will see the demo. So if we understand this three demo, then I am sure that we will understand these parameters and how this is working. Okay, so first we will see max heap table size. Okay, the max heap table size variable. So this will define the maximum size of user created tables permitted to grow. Okay, so max heap table size, let's say if I have max heap table size is equal to 16 MB, then the user created temporary tables can grow up to 16 MB, but it will not for all the engine. This is only for the memory engine. Okay, when we have the user created temporary table with memory engine, then it will grow up to that size. After that, it will not allow. It will not. It will. I mean, you will get the error. We will see in the demo that. And yeah, when you reach the size, it will not allow to grow further, and we will have the error. Okay, so let's see the demo for this. So here I'm logging the MySQL and use tree and show tables. So I have three InnoDB tables here. Show create table T2. Okay, so here we have three columns, ID, name, and CDate, three columns. And this is the actual table. And we have the engine equal to InnoDB. Okay, fine. Now, I am going to create one temporary table, user created temporary table. So what max heap table size is? It will define the maximum size of user created table, user created temporary table permitted maximum size for the memory engine. Okay, so let me create the temporary table. And also in this session, we will monitor the files. Okay, so we see two IBT file and ibtemp file, right? So we will monitor both the file here, ibtemp1 and InnoDB temp. So Currently, they are in the default size 12 MB and all this IBT file size is 80 KB only. That is the default size. They are in that way. So now I'm going to create one temporary table, user create a temporary table with memory engine. Create temporary table ID int name varchar 16 and c date time and engine equal to memory. There is a error. Create temporary table ID int name marker 16 date time engine equal to. Okay, I did not provide the table name. So here, like, we can use it T7. Okay, so show create table T7. And you can see we have 3 columns. And in T2 table, this is actually not temporary table. This is InnoDB table. There also we have 3 columns. So I have some data already populated in this T2. Select count of star from T2. You can see some data. So this data we are going to insert here. Okay. So now my temporary table is T7 user created temporary table. And this is engine memory. And we are testing the max heap table size. Let's check the max heap table size value. Max heap table size. Let me convert to MP. So this is 16 MB by default. Okay, so maximum allowed table size is 16 MB. Okay, for the user created temporary table memory. So we already created the table. So for table T7, the maximum allowed size is 16 MB. Okay, fine. Now let's create some data in the table T7 and we will see when it reaches the 16 MB, what is happening. Okay, so that is the next testing. So before that, we can use this command to check the session memory usage. So currently this is 1 MB by default. Okay, so we can check how many memory is getting used, allocated for this session. Fine. Now I am going to populate the data in T7 table, which is the memory engine temporary table. Insert into T7, select star from T2, limit some 30,000. Okay. Okay. So now I am checking it is changed from 1 MB to 2 MB. And I am doing insert again and again and again. And let me check how much memory used. 9 MB. And again, 2 inserts. Now let me check. I am using 13 MB. So which means my temporary table is getting created in the memory. Okay, so that you can see the increment here. So when it reached the 16 MB, we reach the size. We reach this size, max heap table size. So the maximum allowed size is 16 MB. Then we will see what is happening. Okay, and you can, this is disk level. You can see the disk level. There is no change. This is still 12 MB and you can see they are in the 80 KB only. There is no change because this is completely the temporary table is stored in the memory. Okay, not disk. So now let me do one more insert. You can see the table T7 is full. And let me check. I am reached 16 MB. And my max heap table size is 16 MB. And in the session, I reached the 16 MB, which means when we started, it was 1 MB, right? So now we have 16 MB, which means whatever we inserted the data, they are stored in the memory and we hit this size. We hit this max heap table size. And when I am trying to insert further, it is not allowing because we already reached the maximum allowed size, and I am getting this error. The table T7 is full. Okay, so this is understandable, right? The real-time example, we have this 16 MB is the value is the allowed value, and we reach the value, and furtherly I could not create the data in the table, and I am getting the table is full error. Okay, so this is how the max heap table size is, that variable is working. Okay, so again, this will define the maximum size for user created temporary table, and the engine should be memory. We created the same. We created the temporary table and the engine is memory. And when we hit the size, it will not allow further to growth, and it is not allowing, it is giving the error. Okay, so this is how the max heap table size parameter is working. Fine. Now, similarly, let's test the temp table size. That is the next parameter. So here, this will define the maximum size of internal in-memory temporary table. Okay, max heap table size is, it will define the maximum size for user created temporary table using the create temporary table statement. But temp table size is used for define the maximum size of internal in-memory temporary table. Okay, so which means it is the temporary table created by the MySQL, by the optimizer internally for the union queries or group by queries. For that purpose, it will create some temporary table and it will define that. Okay. Yeah. So let's test this as well. Okay, let's test this. So for this, what I'm going to do, yeah, let me close this session and reopen. My temporary table will automatically removed, and use 3 and show tables. I have T2 table, and there I already have some data. That is the InnoDB normal table. And I am creating one more normal table, not the temporary table. I'm just going to create one more normal table. The table name is T4, create table T4, and I'm creating the same column, ID int and name tracker and cdate, date, time. Okay, so I created one more table. This is like T2, T4. I have one more table, T4. Now I am going to insert the data, insert into T4, select star from T2. Okay, I am just populating the entire data what I have in the T2. I am just filling the T4 as well. So I did not created any temporary table yet, because in this example, we are not going to create the temporary table manually. Okay, this is because temporary table size variables will affect the maximum size of internally created temporary table, not the user created temporary table. Okay, so we are going to make the MySQL to create the temporary table internally. We are not going to create manually. Okay, so let's see, we are going to execute some bulk union operation and MySQL will create it. Okay, so that is what we are going to see now. So here you can see still there is no change because there is no temporary table in disk 12 MB, and you can see this all the files are 80 KB. So this is, we see, right, this is for the global temporary table space and this is for session temporary table space. We will see that how the files getting right. Okay, now I have two tables, T2 and T4, both have the same data. They have some bulk data. Okay, now let's do the bulk union operation, and MySQL will automatically create the temporary table. Okay, So I'm performing select count of star from select star from T2 union all select star from T4. I'm just giving the union for this both tables without any var class. Okay, so it might be huge and I am using union all. And let's enter, okay, alias and giving some alias. And let's enter and let's monitor here. You can see the IBT file is updated. Okay, previously it was 80 KB and here you can see 248, 304, and finally we will have 552 MP. Okay, so this is session created temporary table space. When let me come to here again. So when when I am executing the query, the MySQL is creating the temporary table internally because my temp table size is temp table size 1024. My default value is 16 MB, right? But MySQL needed the temporary table size, which is around 552 MB. Okay. But our configuration is 16 MB. So in this case, it is more than 16 MB. So in this case, automatically the table will converted to disk. Okay. So if the table, the MySQL internally creating the temporary table to perform the union operation, that internal table size is less than 16 MB, then it will be in memory. If it is more than 16 MB, then it will convert it to disk and it will be stored in the session temporary table space, which is .ibt file. Okay. So this is what I'm coming to say. My configuration temp table size is 16 MB. So when the temp table size is used, when the MySQL is creating the temporary table internally to perform the union operation or group by operation, then it will create the temporary table internally. And the temporary table size, which is creating by the MySQL is less than 16 MB, then it will be in memory. If it is more than 16 MB, then it will be converted to disk. So currently the MySQL created the temporary table and the size is 552 MB. So it is created in the disk. So then how to illustrate the table will create in memory also. Okay, so here we can see it is created in the disk, but how to illustrate that table will create in the memory also. That we will see. So for example, we can reduce the table size. Okay, so currently we see created some 552 MB, right? So in this case, it is created in the disk. Our allowed size is 16 MB. So let's try to create let's allow the MySQL to create the temporary table less than 16 MB. And we will see whether the table is creating in the disk or not. In that case, we can illustrate the table is in memory or disk, right? Let's do in that way. So for that, what I am going to do, so we need to know the size, right? So for that, what I am going to do, instead of printing using the select, I am going to insert this data into the another table. Then we can check the table size and we can conclude. Okay, so let me explain that how we are going to do this. Okay, so I am creating one more table, create table T6 like T like T4. Okay, now I am going to insert into this T6 table with this query, with the union query. Okay, so for that, insert into T6. So if I insert all this data, then again the table size will be around 552 MB. That is not going to help for our testing, right? So I am going to limit the value. Okay. So for example, limit 1 lakh data here, and union all here also 1 lakh data. Okay. And so currently we will also monitor with this command, we will also monitor the three T6. IBD. It is giving like 1 second. Okay. CD var lib MySQL and ls-th3 t6.ibd. Okay. And then we will monitor the ls-th ibtmp1, and then we will monitor the session temporary tables. Okay, cool. So now we have to monitor these three tables. Okay, one is t6.ibd. We are going to make some entry in the t6 table less than 16 MB. Then we will see this table is getting updated or not. So before that, let's release this data because that is not needed, right? So I am just closing the connection and reconnecting. Then I am checking. You can see previously it was 552 MB and now it is come to the default size, because we see at first when we reconnect, close the session, the temporary table, the temporary data, which may be the user created or the MySQL created, when we close the session, that uh, that disk, that space will be released. Even memory or disk, it will be released. Okay, now we have default value again, 12 MB, and here also we have the default value. And in this table, we are going to make the insert. Currently, this is 112 KB. Fine. Use 3 and I am going to insert insert into T6. I have to apply the limit. Yeah, we have the default value. And let me apply the limit. Limit 1 lakh. And here also limit 1 lakh. Let me fix this syntax. The bracket is the problem. Yeah. Yeah. So the insert is happening now. Now the T6 table have 2 lakhs record. And let's check the size. Yeah. So here you can see there is no change in the ibtemp1, which is the general temporary table space. There is no change. And here you can see the t6.ibd size is 18 MB. Okay, 18 MB. And you can see the file is created in the disk 17 MB from 80 to 17 MB. So still it makes sense because our temporary temp table size value is 16 MB, right? Temp table size value is 16 MB, and the created temporary table size is more than 18 MB. So in this case, it is okay. It will definitely go to the disk, right? So in this case, we have the uh, temporary table created in the disk. Now I am truncate table T6 and closing the session and reconnecting use 3, and I am checking all the values are rolled back. Okay, all the values are rolled back. Now what I'm going to do, I am going to reduce the size further. 80,000 instead of 1 lakh. Now I am reducing the row count. Now I am going with 80,000. Let's see, table is populated. So here you may have, I'm just doing how the temporary table created, right? Because we have the select and we have the union operation that will use the create the internal temporary table. Okay. So just maybe that will confuse it. That's what I'm explaining again. So now check again. Now also the T6.ibd size is 16 MB, which means 16 MB of the temporary internal temporary table is created. In that case, again, we can see the session temporary table on disk is updated. This is 15 MB now. Okay, because our temp table size is 16 KB. Now let's reduce this further. Truncate T6 and I'm closing, and you can see that all the values are rolled back 80 and 1112, and there is no change in the ibtmp1. Now we can see again, I am creating the data in T6 table. Now I am going with 60,000. I am reducing it further. So first we created with 1 lakh. It was more than 16, and then we created 80,000. It was also more than 16. Now we are going with 60,000, and let's see. The table is created, and let's check here. The table size is now 14 MB, and you can see there is no temporary table created in disk. Okay, so in this way, we can illustrate the temp table size. Like the temp table size is 16 MB, and when the internally created temporary table is reach the 16 MB, then it will convert it to on disk. If that internally created temp table size is less than 16 MB, then it will not convert it to on disk. It will be in memory. Okay, so that we illustrate here. Okay, we created the temporary table, and to check the size, we also populated the T6 table. Here, previously, the T6 table was 16 MB, and before then it was 18 MB. That time, we see the temp table is created in the disk. But now, for the last result, the T6 table size is overall 14 MB. So in this case, our temp table size is internally created temp tables also 14 MB, nearby 14 MB. But our temp table size is 16 MB. So in this case, the table size is less than 16 MB. So the table is not created in the disk. Okay, so this is how the temp table size value is working. Okay, so you might understand the max heap table size, that is for the user created temp table for the memory engine. When we reach the 16, when we reach the value, it will not allow the further writes. And we see this temp table size as well. This will define the maximum size of internally created in-memory temp table. And we did some test. We created the table and we manually populated the data. When the table created, I mean the temporary table created. So again, I would like to say, so here you may get confusion. The table is created in the disk, right? But we are actually simulating this to check the internally created temp table size. We are storing the data in T6 to check the table size only. Okay. But actually the table is getting created in the internally temp table due to this union all operation. Okay. But we are just storing the result in the another table to check the size. Okay, and that is also perfectly work for our scenario. When the table size is 18 MB, we had the temp table created in the disk. When we had the 16 MB, we had the temp tables created in the disk in the IBT file. But when the table size is 14 MB, our temp table size is also less than 14 MB. In that case, there is no temp table created in the disk. So in this way, we illustrate the temp table size. Okay. Now you may have the question, okay, IBT files are getting updated in this way. Okay. But what is the purpose of ibtemp1 and when this table will update it? Okay. That is the next question. Okay. So ibtemp1, that is the global table space to store the uh, temporary data, and also it will store the rollback segments for the user created temporary tables. Okay. So for example, it will store the rollback segments for the user created temporary tables. Okay. User created temporary tables. So now what I'm going to do, I am going to first let me terminate this session so that the values will be recover, and I am login and use 3, and I am creating one temporary table. Create temporary table T10 ID int name varchar 16 and C underscore date time. Okay, so there is a typo. TMP और ये oops create them. It sounds like I forgot the spelling for temporary. Let me create temporary table T10. Okay, ID int worker seeded. Okay, actually I have the problem here, not with temporary. Okay, fine. Yeah, so I created the temporary table. The table name is T10. So as I told, when this IB data 1 file will get update is when it is storing the rollback segments. When it is storing the rollback segments of the user created temporary table. So the user created temporary table means here we already created the user created temporary table, and the rollback segments means it has to in case if I can also do the rollback in the temporary table. For example, I'm starting one transaction begins and insert into T10, which is the temporary table, and select star from E2 limit 1. Okay, and you can see there is one row affected, and select star from T10 I can see the data, and I can roll back. Rollback. After rollback, it is empty set. So this is work like a normal transaction. So when the data is committed, we will have the data. When we roll back, it will roll back the data. So for temporary table, in case if I am rollbacking the changes, it has to be stored somewhere, right? In normal, for the InnoDB tables, we have the undo logs, right? So it will have the before records. So in case if I am rollbacking the changes, then the old data will be get from the undo logs, right? So for temporary table, the rollback segments will be written in the ibtmp1 file. ibtmp1 file. So let me so some example. We will grow this ibtmp1 file. So currently this is 12 MB. So I am creating the transaction, and now I am doing the insert without limit. Okay, without limit. And here you can see, if I check, ibtmp1 is now changed from 12 MB to 76 MB. And finally, we have 148 MB. And also you can see IBT file is also increased. So when I am doing this operation in the user created temporary table, it is growing both ibtemp1 and IBT file as well, which means it is impacting the session level table spaces as well as global table spaces, because the actual data is stored in the IBT file. Okay, this ibtemp1 file will just store the rollback segments. Okay, in case if I want to roll back, like I just begin, right? In case if I want to roll back here, it has to revert the old data, right? So for that, it has to keep the old state of the data as well. So that is stored in that rollback segment is stored in this ibtemp1 file, not the actual data. Actual data is stored in this IBT file only. Okay. I inserted this much of rows. All the rows are currently stored in this IBT file only. But this ibtemp1 file just have the rollback segments. That's it. Okay. We can execute one more query. There we will conclude that. Oh, sorry. Commit. Okay. Now again, I am going to start one transaction. So just in this session, just monitor the size. Currently, my ibtemp1 size is 140 MB and the table size is 324 MB. Now I am going to do one update. Update T10 set name equal to some value. And I'm executing this. So for the update, it has to be keep the old value and the old value in case I'm doing rollback, right? So for that purpose, you can see monitor here. Now there is no change in the IBT file. I mean the table data file, because we are not going to insert any new rows, right? In that case, it will grow, but I am just changing the old data and also with the less string. So you can see there is no change in this data file. I mean the temporary table data file, there is no change. We have the same size. But if you see this ibtemp1 file, here it is changed from 140 MB to 332 MB, because it has to keep the old old version of the rows. In case if I am doing rollback here, it has to apply the old data, right? So for that, it need to track the old version of data. So for that purpose, this ibtemp1 file is using. Okay. So this is the use of ibtemp1, and when this file is getting grow. Okay. So IBT file is used to just store the table data. When your table is converted to disk, when your temporary table is converted to disk, then all the data will be stored in the IBT file only, .ibt file. That is for the temporary table. And ibtmp1 is used to store the rollback segments. In case I am rolling back, this file will be used. Fine. So now when I am closing the session, I will recover this space. You can see the table will automatically removed, and I will also recover this space. But this ibtmp1 size will not recover automatically. To recover this, we have to restart the MySQL service. So here, so sometimes you might see in your production environment that ibtmp1 file sizes grow quickly. So if you are using the temporary tables, then this will usually happens. So after restart, you can see the ibtmp1 space is released. So this is what I thought to share in this session. I think this is understandable. Maybe if you have any questions and you want some clarifications, you are looking some other topics in this, I mean, based on this temporary table, if you are looking some other topics, please comment. We will try to address that as well. Okay. So as a quick review, we in this video, we see the ibtmp1 and the IBT file, the purpose when they are updating, and when our table is converting from memory to disk, and we see the temp table size and max heap table size, how they are working. We see all these things live with the demo, right? So hopefully you can expect more videos from this InnoDB architecture. So this is also the part of the architecture, right? So we will try to address all the components in this way, one by one. And finally, we will see the flow, actual data flow, how that is happening in the InnoDB engine. Okay, again, I'm planning to do the MySQL training, DBA training. If you are interested, please reach me. And if you are new to my channel, please subscribe the channel for more MySQL related videos. And if you have, if you feel like the video will useful for someone, please share with your friends as well. Thank you for watching. I will come up with the next video very soon. Bye for now. Thank you.